I'm going to start right off by asking you what you think about what's going on. A lot has taken place between India and Canada since Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made that link between India and the killing of Hardeep Nijjar. Opening comment from you, Professor.
First, let's remember that these tensions have been bubbling around for the last 5 or 10 years. This isn't something new to India-Canada relations. It's the severity of the situation that's new, not the fact of, Canada harboring suspected terrorists and India being, pressuring Canada to bring those terrorists to justice.
How do you assess India's response, Professor, so far?
Well, India's response has been a bit aggressive, let's be honest. The suspension of visa processing is not something we would ordinarily expect to happen due to a diplomatic spat between countries. It is something that gets ordinary people involved in what we would hope would remain a government-to-government challenge.
Yeah.
That said, it was Canada who first, fired the first shots, and it was Justin Trudeau who really took inappropriate actions on the floor of his parliament in an environment where he can claim parliamentary privilege. That is, he doesn't have to present any actual evidence. He can simply speak his mind, whether he presents evidence or not. So it's understandable that India's response has been so upset. But that said, it probably does go a little bit too far.
Professor, has Trudeau, in your mind, jumped the gun? Because a lot of people think he's overstepped, he's gone out on a limb, he's painted himself into a corner. Why, in your mind, has Trudeau, taken this path?
First, let's be absolutely clear. None of us in the commentariat know the truth of the allegations. Whatever our, sense of emotion or national pride may tell us, we simply don't know. That said, it's clear that Justin Trudeau is beholden to not only the Sikh community within Canada, but to a minority of the Sikh community within Canada. That is, he isn't doing this for reasons of foreign affairs or foreign relations. He is taking these actions for reasons of domestic politics. Indians may not be aware that he does not have a majority in his parliament. He relies on votes from a smaller party. So he has 160 seats in his party in parliament. He relies on an additional 25 seats from the New Democratic Party. Now, the New Democratic Party is led by a man named Jagmeet Singh. He is himself Sikh. It's not a Sikh party, but he is himself Sikh. Also, the Liberal Party in Canada again takes a lot of money and organizational power. And to be clear, the organizational power is probably the more important one from Sikh Gurdwaras. Now, obviously, there's no consensus among Canadian Sikhs as to the Khalistan issue or to being anti-India.
Yes.
But that said, the Khalistanis within the Sikh community in Canada are very aggressive at seeking to influence power, whereas ordinary Sikhs are much less engaged with politics. So, Trudeau is letting himself be driven by internal political calculations instead of, I think, by rational international affairs calculus.
Because Professor, in the Indian mind, and I'm sure you've seen this as well in your conversations, that, the view of Trudeau is being a Canadian leader who has done nothing against repeated provocations. There have been rallies where posters of Indian officials have been put out, practically calling for their murder, which is a clear violation of the law, and yet it is being described as freedom of speech and peaceful protest. So in the Indian mind, Trudeau has done nothing against such elements, including terrorist groups.
What you're saying is correct, but if there's something I can offer to Indian audiences, it's contextualization. Justin Trudeau has made a series of odd social faux pas over the last 30 years, including, as a 30-something high school teacher posing in blackface for a party, not posing, but appearing, with his face blacked up at a party, which in the North American context is almost criminal. I mean, it's something that nobody would do, yet this, 30-something-year-old son of a prime minister, remember his father was also prime minister, thought it was okay to do this at a party. Similarly, he's said things in public regarding India, regarding the Sikh issue. He's been willing to be photographed with known terrorist suspects. that all reflects, I think, a level of judgment that most of us would question. Now, when it comes to somebody like, my own former president, Donald Trump, everyone knows he has questionable judgment. That's widely accepted. And if he does something odd on the world stage, people might attribute that to Trump's poor personal judgment. But most of us don't know Justin Trudeau. We don't think of him as a quote unquote Trumpian figure. Yet Justin Trudeau also has a long history of poor personal judgment.